ANARCHIVE was born from an idea to create a space and a place dedicated to fashion, but not conceived as a museum, an anti-museum, a place in which students, of course, lecturers, collectors of fashion can meet together, have a dialogue, talk about what is the true essence of fashion that goes behind the idea of a single garment. Blue Revolution is not only a game between the idea of evolution and the revolution. Behind the concept of blue, there's a deep sense of revolution that is a political, economical, financial, but also sociological revolution, but also an evolution of the time. And analyzing the meaning, the deep meaning of blue, starting as usual from the past and then projecting the idea of the color blue into the future, what I was observing is a very interesting blackout. Starting from two different directions. The first one was, of course, inherited by art. The idea of lapis lazuli as an extremely precious stone coming from Afghanistan, and it was from the lapis lazuli that was extracted the powder to depict some of the most iconic paintings from the Renaissance. Lapis is a symbol of stability, is in link with the idea of eternal and immortal. From the other side, what is extremely fascinating about indigo and the transformation of the indigo is the fact that I really believe the blue is one of the most lived colors. Those two extremely different directions was also reconnected with the idea of blue again as a contradictory color, symbol of peace and quiet, but from also melancholy.
The work in the exhibition really uses kasuri or ikat as its foundation, and this is a weaving technique in which the yarns are measured and bound very tightly to resist the dye, and then they're dyed, in our case in indigo, and then unbound to reveal the pattern. Typically you then stretch those warp yarns on the loom and weave them to reveal the pattern, but in our case, in the case of the installation here, we hung the yarns like we might hang them in the studio to dry them, and developed this pattern. So we wanted to come up with a form that would reflect the process of making. We hang them so that they go up and down and up and down and up and down, and allows us to hang something very long in a very short space. And so we wanted to bring in those aspects of the process of making something sort of as a snapshot from the studio into the final work. And so this led to the form that the work ended up taking. We also wanted to use a very simple traditional ikat technique. In Japanese it's called Zurashi, and roughly translated it means slipped, in which the yarns are slipped. Once they're measured, they're slipped, bound, dyed, and then when you hang them, or when you would stretch them on a loom, they unslip to create a stepped pattern. So both of those things, the overall form and then the pattern on it, are really intended to reveal the process.
まず一番大切に思っていることは、素材を大事にすること。で、次に綿とか羊の毛とかそういうのを育ててくれた人を大事にすること。で、次にそれを糸とか布に織ってくれた人に感謝すること。で、自分の気持ちを込めてものづくりをしていくことかな。そういうところがつながってると思います。
I discovered the work of Charles Fréger from the beginning of 2000 with a very emblematic title. Bleu de Travail was really like re-establishing a very deep link, a sort of fil bleu that is connecting an anonymous painter from the 18th century that at the time was depicting a gentleman wearing a traditional coat from that century made of denim in blue. And it's the same aristocratic feeling, the feeling of belonging, the idea of an identity that is very much in contrast with the use of the workwear as killing the identity of the single person.
L'archivio Roy Rogers nasce in maniera molto naturale perché appunto Roy Rogers è il primo marchio di jeans nato in Italia nel 1952, è sempre stato catalogato i pezzi più importanti delle varie collezioni, sia a livello proprio di prodotto, ma anche a livello grafico, etichette, cartellini. La ricerca è stata fatta in base al tema, diciamo, della mostra, che è il workwear, e anche agli shades di blu, di indigo dei vari capi, quindi sia dal materiale, sia dall'origine appunto del workwear, e anche dal fade, dai vari, diciamo, lavaggi o le varie caratteristiche che hanno subito anche dopo più di 100 anni di storia i capi che sono stati portati. I capi nostri, quelli più importanti, sono stati trovati da ricercatori che sono proprio degli Indiana Jones dei capi vintage, quindi il capo che ha delle sporcature di cera sulla gamba è stato trovato in una miniera in Colorado a circa 60 metri, diciamo, sotto il livello della terra, e queste sporcature venivano da dei lumini che avevano i minatori, sono proprio le gocce di cera che sporcavano il capo, e in tutti questi capi di inizio 1900 hanno questa caratteristica qua.
The fact that the blue has been like turning from the idea of noble aristocracy into becoming the symbol and worldwide the symbol of the community of workers. And this idea is becoming a very interesting also symbol about how the idea of the workwear, from something that's connected with utility and the idea of course, simple, humble garments, as nowadays translated into becoming the hero product almost in every collection of fashion. Our library is at the heart, the focus, the core of the studies, the fashion studies, is where ANARCHIVE is starting and from where ANARCHIVE is landing. The student can sit down, observe, touch, understand, read the selection of the books coming from the Polimoda library, but also understanding how much there's behind this blue revolution. This analysis is really about the dual aspect of the evolution and the revolution, about how much society has been influenced by fashion, but also how much fashion during the time, during the subcultures, and during the evolution of the communities has been able to give power to certain kind of revolution.